Michael Vlach, and my talk today is about DORA in Barclays. Don't worry if you don't know what DORA is or what Barclays is, I will cover both. So let's get started. So this is the agenda, it's pretty short, 20 minutes talk, so as you are informed already. So something about me, my background is a little bit unorthodox. I haven't been in tech always. I used to study something completely different. I used to do education policy at the Ministry of Education of Czech Republic, nothing to do with tech. And then about 9 years ago, I switched careers completely and I went into tech as a programmer, and now I'm marketing platform lead at Barclays, which has a strategic development center next door here at Pancras. So what is Barclays? So Barclays is a big bank. So it's one of the top 20 worldwide bank, top 8 in Europe. It has 85,000 employees, of which about 25,000 are software engineers. And me specifically, I'm working in the part of the bank called investment bank, which focuses on the big clients, like Apple is the Barclays client that trades through us. And we have about 5,000 people, and most of those people are software engineers, and most of those people, or 1,500 of those people, are working next door here in Prague. So Barclays is also a very old organization. It traces its roots back to the 17th century. So it gives you a little bit perspective how changeable that place can be, right? So what is DORA? So DevOps Research and Assessment. The short name DORA, not the Explorer, but the less exciting research program from Google. It was started in 2013 and it's widely used because it's the longest running research program into these things worldwide, I guess. And every year, about 40,000 professionals, teams, companies, individuals are participating in the survey, and Google then goes and researches the data that they are collecting and comes up with certain metrics and outcomes, organizational outcomes, which is the primary focus of DORA. So there used to be 4, now there are 5, but in Barclays we are still using the original 4. We've added the 5th last year, I believe. So those 4. So we have deployment frequency, change failure rate, recovery time, lead time. They are all connected to each other. So deployment frequency is about how frequently you are releasing to production. So is it once a week? Is it daily? Is it on demand? So the elite DORA metric says it should be on demand. So whenever the business wants to release something, you should be able to do it right away. Right? So that's the first metric, change failure rate, how often those releases actually fail. So the elite DORA metric says it should be less than 5% of those changes that you are doing at whatever frequency. Recovery time, when they do fail, how long it takes you to get back to green, get back to restore the service. Again, it should be less than an hour. So if you are restoring the service within an hour, like the big companies like GitHub and all these softwares that we are all using, then you are doing great. If it takes 10 hours, 2 days, a week, never, then that's obviously not very great. And finally, lead time, so that's the trickiest one. So the lead time, as per the DORA, is defined as a time it takes from commit, from the development done, to production. Unfortunately, at Barclays, we are unable to get that metric because many teams are doing different things and we just cannot get that point where the commit happened. So there are many commits, we can trace everything, but it's not really possible to do across all teams to measure it as DORA wants. Instead, we've settled to a slightly modified metric, which works for us and aligns with the business, which is when an issue was raised, when somebody wanted something. The business wanted this feature, the business wanted this bug to be fixed, whatever, and how long it took the organization to get it to production. So it's pretty nice, it's non-negotiable, it just either happened or didn't happen, and how long it took. Now, I will be showing a case study of FX platform or a replatforming of the original FX platform and the DORA outcomes that we used to have and that we have nowadays, and then after that, how we scale that approach across the bank. So the original platform is 15, 20 years old platform. It was wildly successful. It was leader of the market. It was still is written in C++ with some Java UI. In there, some Python for DevOps, about 60 engineers, although that's shifting as the platform is gradually being phased out. And the DORA metrics for it weren't that great. Like the recovery time, for example, 10 hours, so basically we've lost the trading day. Like if there is an outage on the old platform, we've lost the trading day. 80% of the releases fail, and they are not happening that often, like every month. Right? There are small releases, weekly releases on this old platform, but they are very small in scope. Not every change can go in these weekly releases, and most of them have to go to the monthly releases. And with the lead time of 48 days, that means that every change basically misses that window. So normally we say within a month, if I complete it at the beginning of the month and then there is a release at the end, I will hit it. Most of the time you won't. It will be the next one, the next month. So 60 days, even longer. And this particular metric was what prompted the business to start the platforming 3 years ago. So they started losing ground on the market. They needed faster turnover. They needed faster changes. So that's what we did. 3 years ago, we started this project. I started it, and then like about 40 people joined. Nowadays, it's even more. So the project is growing, and we are achieving these metrics. So these are mostly elite DORA metrics. So within an hour, we can restore the service. The changes basically never fail, or the releases, or very rarely. The time to market is about 7 days. In many cases, it's the next day, and that's what the business absolutely loves. So when they ask for something and they get it the next day or the day after, that's so different versus the original like 48 days. In some cases, they waited for a year and still nothing, right? So that's pretty horrible. And the delivery frequency, we are capable of doing on demand. We have this schedule where we are releasing daily. Sometimes it's twice a day, 3 times a day. If there is a need to, I don't know, patch something, fix something, do the feature that was just merged that same day. So that also happens, and business gets addicted to this performance. Right. So how we did that? It obviously wasn't something that we invented at Barclays. That would be pretty weird, although like weird things happen, I guess. So we adopted this approach that was heavily inspired by the big tech companies. So mainly Google, software engineering in Google. The book is on the slide. Also DevOps handbook, and there are plenty of other sources that will talk about the same things. They are also heavily grounded in DORA, using the accumulated experience of the industry, so the things that used to work, or we thought that work, and we found out that they don't actually work. And we tried it at the bank, which is probably the biggest surprise, that these approaches that work in the big tech companies and other companies also work at the bank. Like you can get good in the bank, in the 300-year-old bank, which is pretty wild. Now, concretely automate everything. So that's the mantra. So we try to do no manual testing. The releases are completely automated. Automated rollback, automated thing is the mantra of everything. Also, shift left. That's a buzzword that might be a little bit unintuitive for some of you, but it basically means like anything that we can do earlier, we should be doing earlier. Like engaging with the stakeholders, moving the operations to the development, doing the testing early, feeling all the pain that can happen to the client already in development. So when we did that, we found that, okay, it's not that wonderful. Like you cannot shift the blame, you cannot put that blame on anyone. But at the same time, we are putting out pretty great software, right? So people are obviously complaining, but we can fix the issues. And that was one of the messages. So business don't mind so much if we break things, because that's just a fact of life, that will happen. But they would absolutely mind if we took like 48 days to fix it. If we fix it the next day, the same day, next hour, like that's absolutely fine. Like these things happen. And obviously, the other thing, the standardization, that's a big part. That will be the later part of the talk. And I specifically want to highlight the much faster cycle time. So we originally started using Scrum as the Agile methodology. And we stopped using it after a while because we found that people started behaving a little bit weirdly. So basically they were pushing their work and they committed every other Friday. So we had these 2-week cycles, 2-week sprints, and people just tended to finish their work every other Friday. So So that wasn't great for many reasons. Not only the velocity wasn't that great, but also it strained the CI/CD pipeline and all the systems. So we had to stop that. So we stopped that. We are mostly now using Kanban, and this completely stopped. And now the velocity of even individuals went up. So they are delivering, finishing the work whenever they are actually ready, and not when we planned 2 weeks ago that it should happen. So yeah. That's and this graph, I actually love this graph. It shows the velocity of the project over time. So this is 3 years worth of 2.5 years worth of velocity. So commits to main, we are squashing. So every commit on this graph is a finished feature, finished piece of work, right? And you will notice that it's going up. The number of people stayed mostly the same. Like only the way we work, abolishing the Scrum, using different tools has changed in some cases, and the project is speeding up. Right? That's for software project, like to be faster and faster, even after 3 years, that's pretty unheard of. Like you will be hard pressed to find something similar. Usually the trend is up completely opposite. You start very fast, and over time you're slowing down after about a year, which is what Google found. Any project, anything will work up to a year. Any approach, any stupid thing you can imagine will work up to a year. And after that, it will show whether you are doing it right or wrong. And this graph pretty clearly shows that we are doing something right. So, how it looks like in numbers. So with those 40 people, we are executing 1,300 CI/CD runs, 900 deployments. This is weekly, 2.5 million tests, and there are breakdown tests, so 25,000 unique unit tests, executed 2 million times every week. So there are interesting observations with this scale of things. And this is, by the way, one project. We are trying to scale this across the bank, so we'll probably end up doing billions of executions weekly or something like that once we succeed. But interestingly enough here, even when the failure rate is, like you probably don't see it, but it's 0.3%, at this scale, it's pretty significant. If you have this failure rate, you will feel it every day, because you're executing the test so many times that even like a low failure rate like that, any instability, any flakiness in the system will be felt pretty hard by the team. So that's the data. So, and now after about 2 years, I've been asked to do the same, but this time for the whole bank. So talk about challenge. Now how we go about that. So first, what are the challenges that we face in the bank? Obviously, that's slightly different to other organizations. We are a regulated industry. There are many things that we simply cannot do, and many other things that we have to do that other companies do not have to do. The change control, regulators, red tape, which is a product of those regulations. So the regulations themselves are pretty sensible most of the time, but the way we choose to implement them as a bank is pretty nonsensical most of the time. And the result is some like horrible process that slows everything down. And if people don't fight it, it will eventually lead to this project that I showed earlier that like take forever to develop in release and fix. But probably the hardest thing to change is the culture, because people that have been working in the bank and just have been doing the same thing for decades even, will tell you these excuses that I hear all the time. We've always done it this way. You are telling me that I've been doing it wrong the whole time. The answer is yes, most of the time, unfortunately. We cannot change because like the finding excuses, that's pretty common. And the one that's probably the worst of them all, business does not let us. So it's like, it's disingenuous because the business don't care about your tech. They don't care about your choice of technology. They are not experts. They hired you to do it. Right? So why would you ask them permission to upgrade your .NET, update your framework, update your Java? They've never heard of what Java is. Maybe a little bit, but like they don't care. So it's your business to upgrade your tools, keep them up to date and working. And if you fail that, using this excuse, business does not let us, is not going to help anyone. It's not going to help the business, it's not going to help you. So, right, so this is onto that slide. generalizing of this approach is a little bit unique in our case because we are trying to generalize something that we know works. We do not know whether it works across the whole bank, so that's the unknown, but we absolutely do know that it works because it's been in production for 3 years and we know it works. So, and because it's based on research and knowledge of companies that have scaled this, at infinity almost, we are pretty confident that this will work across the whole organization. Maybe not in the bank, it remains to be seen, but we are pretty confident that it will work. Now, our approach is not just telling people how to do things better, we are actually giving them the solution. So we are not, I'm not personally interested in like writing a book and telling people how to do things. I'd like to actually give them the solution, give them the whole package. This is how you can deliver it intraday, in 1 day, from commit to production in the bank. There might be other ways, remains to be seen if someone can find them, but we found them and we are trying to push them upon everybody. Also, we are trying to avoid the central team trap, where you create this big team, 20, 30 people that will build this central solution and like everybody will start using it. It's not going to work, again, proven by the companies, because the ivory tower syndrome, where you build something that simply nobody wants. Because you haven't worked with those people, you haven't solved their problems, you haven't listened to them, you have no contact with them, that's a big problem. The interdepartmental communication in the bank is a big problem where people are not aware of each other, and if they are, they don't care. So we need to bridge gaps, we need to work with everybody, and eventually reach the same with other projects as we did with the FX replatforming. Now, the name is kind of unimaginative, but like it's on the t-shirt, so it's kind of real. So engineering practices, that's what we call it, and in the heart of it, we have this machinery that we originally built for FX, and now we are trying to use everywhere else, giving it more capabilities, keeping it evidence-driven, so we have like metrics, observability, everything you can think of, and adding more every day, just to not just stay afloat, but get ahead and become the #1 bank in the world, or at least in Europe. So, thank you.